bells ringing, they're singing that you can be born again. Hear the bells ringing, they're singing, Christ is risen from the dead. The angels up on the tombstone say he is risen, just as he said. Quickly now, go tell his disciples, Jesus Christ is no longer dead. Joy to the world, he is risen. Alleluia, he's risen. Alleluia, he's risen. Singing that you can be born again. Hear the bells ringing, they're singing, Christ is risen from the dead. The angels up on the tombstone say he is risen, just as he said. Quickly now, go tell his disciples, Jesus Christ is no longer dead. Joy to the world, he is risen. Alleluia, he's risen. Alleluia, he's risen. Alleluia,
Well, happy Easter to you. I don't speak much. I tend to avoid it. I'm not really a preacher or a scholar. I'm a music pastor. And honestly, it's easier to just let the music do the talking, and it's probably better that way. But since the resurrection is the single essential bit of Christianity, I felt I should talk about it. So, first of all, I believe that it happened. I believe that Jesus was a real person in history, and that he literally died, and that his body and spirit, however it all worked out, came back to life. I believe that this literally happened. And I also believe that somehow this changed the universe. I also believe that whether or not you realize it, it's changing you. I believe that it's what all the Old Testament looked forward to, and it's what all the New Testament writers are twisting their brains trying to understand. But more than that, I believe that the resurrection reveals God's heart. So, here are some of my thoughts. First, historically, there's plenty good reason to believe that Jesus of Nazareth existed, that he died on a cross, and that his followers believe that he rose from the dead. And it's not a stretch to say that the most plausible way of explaining what's in the Bible is that Jesus actually did raise from the dead. And I'm sure you've heard this a million times. But how does it actually change things? So I'm spitballing here, but the universe is an incredible machine put into motion. But entropy will get the best of it eventually as it wears out, even if that's trillions of years in the future. If there's a God, and if the physical universe is of any ultimate importance to God at all, then he would have to at some point reach in and inject corrective energy. And whatever that point is, that would technically be resurrection, wouldn't it? It would be a reversal of things. Jesus himself is that great reversal. And how about this? If you just find the resurrection too much to swallow, after all, dead people stay dead. We don't exactly see miracles, right? But let me ask, what's a bigger miracle? That God would resurrect and address the existential problems of the universe? Or that there's a universe at all? I think we take it for granted that there's a mind-boggling amount of energy, and that this energy just happened to organize itself in such a way that you and I can laugh, sing, eat, dance, breathe, think, and contemplate our existence. Forget how it all happened. Just take in the fact that it's here at all. I think the presence of everything is a far greater miracle than a resurrection. Frankly, a resurrection is just a given. Jesus' resurrection reveals the heart of God. If there is a God who cares ultimately about us in this universe, then he would tangibly step in. And why would we be surprised then that God would want to be the star of the show? Why wouldn't God go right to the heart of the matter, which is humanity? God is a romantic. Someone that's in love isn't calculating. They're extravagant. And they enjoy being extravagant. Jesus' life, death, and resurrection shows us that God is an extravagant, romantic, pursuing God. And personally, it's this, far more than the historical argument, that stirs me. So, all that considered, what do you have to lose? If there is no resurrection, then life is a beautiful but brief moment. And when it's over, that's it. But if there's more, if God is so dedicated to the pursuit of humanity simply because he loves to love us, then we're only at the beginning of the story. And what do you have to gain if there is no resurrection? What help is God to you if he doesn't actually do anything? What's the point if death is final? I'll be honest, I don't consider my own faith to be rock solid. It's not based on me anyways. Some days I wake up and I go, do I really believe this? I can come up with new questions and I can ask old questions all day long. But ultimately, at the end of the day, I do believe it. I do believe that God exists. And I do believe in Jesus Christ. And that somehow God is reconciling all things to himself through the blood of his cross. And the tangible result in my life is that I worship. I love him. I spend time asking him to reveal himself to me. I believe he does. And this is the richest thing in my life. Now, I'd consider this all a waste of time if all I'm doing is adding to the noise. But if I can encourage you to do anything, it'd be this. Just look up and consider God. Consider that he cares more about you than you think. He's actually in love with you. Step into that mystery. Embrace a relationship with him, an infinite being that loves you tangibly and that is pursuing you. Happy Easter.